Hello, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another How to Code Well live stream. It is Thursday morning, it's 7 in the morning. Good morning, Tyranid. Good morning. And today we're going to be dealing with the state pattern in PHP, the design pattern, which is state. Let me just sort those out. Sorry about that. So the state pattern is it's a very interesting pattern, and it can help remove a lot of code such as switch statements. It's a very underused pattern, I think. So we're going to be focusing on that today, and also there's some other things that I want to talk about. I mentioned in the Discord server that I wanted to mention a potential talk that I want to give, and also what was the other one? Oh yes, there's a potential Electron application that I wouldn't mind creating at some point next year, which is very exciting. I've never used Electron before, so we'll be talking about that as well. But also, let's just get the elephant out of the room. Why am I wearing a shirt? Today I'm actually going off to see a client today. So I'm kind of all kitted out, ready for that. So after the stream, I'm going to go off to see the client. But I'm in the UK, and we are having a general election today. So I'm also going off to get to cast my votes. We're certainly not going to be talking about any politics on the chat, so don't worry about that. But for anyone who's watching who is in the UK, please consider voting. That's the only piece I will say. But also, it means that we are unfortunately going to have to close the stream early, around 8:30, because I need to get to the polling station, and then I need to get to the client. So we will be cutting this off a little bit shorter than normal. Okay, let's get into the code. Let's dive in. So potentially, why am I over there? There we go. Potentially, I might not be able to talk. I may not be able to get to talk about the Electron stuff today, and the talk that I would like to give. Maybe I'll do that on Sunday, potentially. Anyway, so this is the state pattern, and I'm just creating like some placeholders and stuff. As we know, we create a view and then an index.php file to run all of these things. So let's talk about the state pattern first. What is the state pattern? Well, the state pattern, according to Wikipedia, yes, that is true. Well, that's what usually happens, Tyranid. We usually do vote on a workday. But yeah, whatever. Here in the UK, at least. I can't remember the last time I voted on a weekend. So the state pattern it's as I mentioned, I think it's an underused behavioral pattern. I haven't seen it much in the work that I've done, but I think it's a really good one. It allows the object to alter its behavior and when its internal state changes, right? So you can change the behavior of the object when the internal state changes. This is coming from Wikipedia. It's very similar to state machines. If you think of like an old school machine where you've got cogs and wheels and stuff like that, and you're putting something down, and depending on where the cogs turn, it depends on where this object lands. Perhaps you're dropping a ball, and then you're moving cogs and stuff, and it's redirecting the ball into different sort of ways and places within this machine. It's a state machine, essentially. It can allow one object to go from one state to another state, and I think it's a good pattern. It reduces the amount of crazy switch statements. So a way you could get away, I'm sure we've all seen these crazy switch statements, which are like 5, 10, 15 switch cases long, and then within each case there is like a whole manner of crazy if statements going on. So even if the case is set to something, that it also checks for other bits and pieces. All of that stuff could be handled better, I believe, in a state pattern. So we're gonna fire through this, I think. So what we need to do first of all is we need to create some states. I'm going to use the account management sort of idea here. So we're going to create, we're going to create some states. So we're going to create a state where the account is open. So we're going to do open state. And I'm just going to create some files just to start, working through this. We're going to have a closed state as well. And in terms of the switch statement, these would be the cases, right? So where is PHP file? Here we go. So we're going to have closed state. What else can we do with account management? We could do potentially pending, or we could do pending state. So maybe we register it, then it goes into pending, then it gets opened, and then we can close it. Perhaps we can do another state, and which is updated, maybe updated state. Or perhaps we could do invoice state. That's probably a better one, isn't it? Invoiced. We're going to do, that should cover it. So we can do an open, a pending, an invoiced, and a closed. And these are the different sort of scenarios, if you will, different types of behaviors. So things will be acting upon these. So once we open this, maybe we have another one actually, which is register state. Registered state. So perhaps maybe there is a system where we register an account. That account gets registered, it goes into a pending state. Once the user verifies that the account is opened, then we open state. Okay, maybe the account does some other bits and pieces that we want to invoice, and we put it into an invoice state, and then afterwards we can close it. But if you look at this scenario, you can't close an account that hasn't been opened. You can't close an account that hasn't been registered. You can't invoice an account that hasn't been registered or opened. So there is intelligence here that we need to somehow put through, and we need to have a manner of controlling how the behaviors go from one state to another state. So this is what we're going to build here. Okay, so we're going to create a interface. So we're going to call this account state interface. Interface. And this is an interface that will have the various known states available to it. So I tell you what, first of all, let's go and create these as proper classes. I guess that would help, wouldn't it? Let me first grab one of these things. I just want to grab this up here. And I'm just going to bung it in here for a minute and change this to be, it is behavioral, this is state, and this is count. Yes, that's very correct, Tyrannid. Yes, it could be used for orders and stuff. It really it's really useful when you've got like a linear way of creating, going through states, right? So you've got, this, you can only proceed to the next step if this step has been, you've covered all the bits and pieces. So this is account manage. I can never get this right. Management. Is that right? Management. That doesn't look right, does it? Refactor, rename. I just want to copy that. Put it in there. There we go. Okay, so this is the, what was I working on? The closed state. We're not going to worry about that. And this is going to implement the account state interface, which needs to be namespaced, obviously. Yeah. Account state interface. Okay, so that's the closed state. We don't need those. We definitely need to sort that out, though. That's it. Okay, so I'm just going to copy all of these into here and just change the name of the classes. So we've got invoice state, we've got open state, we've got, excuse me, my throat is getting, I was with a client yesterday, I was doing a lot of talking, so my throat is a little bit sore. Oops. We've got, what's this, pending state, and the next one here is we've got registered state. Now, obviously, you know, in a real world situation, you would have a lot more of these things. Okay, so they have the ability to, they implement this account state, which means that with the account state, we can define the different states if we wanted to. So, for instance, the registered state, if we wanted to, could go straight to the pending state. Pending state would go straight to the open state, and so forth. So, but there needs to be some logic in between all of these as to what states could go to what, right? So first of all, what we're going to do before we do any of that, though, is we're going to just list the potential states. So we've got public function. We're going to have register. We're going to have a public function, pending. We're going to have a public function. We're going to have open. Now, this probably is going to look really confusing. Why on earth are you listing all of these states? But it will make sense in a second, because I'm going to do something that is a little bit crazy as to how we're going to actually manage invoiced. We're going to do something that is, and obviously closed, to help manage the logic between the states function. And we're going to use inheritance to do this. This is closed. Okay. All right. So I guess because these are actions, they shouldn't be ED. So invoice close. There we go. And that could be awaiting, but let's just leave it like that for a minute. Okay. So now all of these need to have all of those things, right? So how do we get around all of this? Well, what we do is we create a parent state. So this is we're going to call this, I guess you could call this account. Well, I guess you could call this account states, right? Or something like that, states. So again, grab all of those things, paste them into there. Don't worry about the implementation. Change this to, this is the base class, account states. Now, what we're going to do in this class is we're going to grab all of the states that we have up here, and we're going to put them in here. But what we're going to do is we're going to throw exceptions. So what I would usually do is I would throw I create my own exception, and then I would throw that. But I guess what we could do is we could do throw new, just a new exception, I guess. So this exception is cannot register. This will all become clear, I hope, soon. This one here is going to be pending. Cannot put account into pending. Cannot open account. This is cannot send invoice. Now this is very defensive programming, in my opinion. Cannot close. Cannot close. Okay, now the reason why I've done this is we have the account states here, and all of the states themselves implement account states, account state interface. So if I did on the close states, if I did extends account states, did you see that the red line had disappeared? Because the closed states extends the account states, it implements the account state interface, which means that now the class closed state has access to all of the account states. However, they all throw exceptions, which means that I can use inheritance to overload the particular state that I want to choose to go to, okay, using inheritance. So again, this will all become clear soon. Let me just grab that and put that into there. Let's grab that and put that into there. Let's grab that and put that into there. And same with registered. Okay. Okay, so let's work through this. So we're going to start with the open state. The open state goes to the next state after open is pending. So because we're extending the account state, we go into the pending thing here, which is this one. So what we want to do on open, we want to do public function open. Whoopsie. And with open, what we want to do is we want to return a new, sorry, I'm doing it wrong. This is pending, beg your pardon. Sorry, this is pending, new pending, and we want to return a new pending state. So when I against the open state concrete class, I can then go open state pending, and then I return a pending state. However, I can't do that on a closed state because it's extending the account states, and therefore the pending state is going to throw an exception. You see what I mean? This is a way that you can override rules. Let's have a look. We've got the open state here, so that goes to pending. Let's do the pending state. The pending state, the next one off the pending state, well, I guess the first one is registered, actually, isn't it? So let's do registered goes to open. New open state. Open state. So that goes to the open state. The pending state goes to the pending state. Oh, sorry, the open state goes to pending state. The pending state registered. No, I'm confusing myself. This is registered. Sorry, the registered state goes to the pending state. Beg your pardon. As I mentioned before, pending state. The pending state goes to the open state. There we go. Yeah. Pending state goes to open. And So now we're in open. Now we can do, with open, we can do various things. We could, for example, we could invoice, which goes to a new invoice state. We could also, if we wanted to, we could close the account. So now you can see it forking off. You can see this forking off into various different states if we wanted to, like a tree, like it's branching off now. So registered states, pending states, they're quite sort of isolated. You can only go in one direction. So registered state, you can only go into the pending state, and the pending state, you can only go into the open state. I guess there could be a case of, if your verification email expires, then we would close it down perhaps, but let's not get too down in the weeds with that. In the open state, we can, of course, because it's open, we can now invoice and we can close. And then with the closed state, I guess what you could do is you could go all the way back to the registered state after it's been closed. So maybe it would go straight back into the pending state. So let's see if we can get that running. Let's do, well, the invoice state would go to the closed state, wouldn't it? So let's do open. Invoice state would go to closed. It could also, we could also do another invoice as well. That would go to the closed state, and closed state could go to pending or something. Okay, so this is defining now our logical routes between the application. And first of all, you create a means of locking things down first of all, and then in the actual classes, you would define how or which state you could go to next, or what states you would like to go to next. So I guess what we can do is we can create this. So let's do an account. Let's create a class here called account. So we're going to just grab all of that stuff, bung it in account. Okay, so we're going to have a private function called state, right? So this is the current state that we're at. We're also going to have a public function called getState. So this is going to return the state that we're in. So we're going to return this state like so. And I guess what we could do is we could do public function, we could do a constructor, and in that constructor we could set a state. So we could do this, state is equal to new, let's start this off as registered state. So when we open up a new account, we register it. Register goes off to pending. Pending goes off to open. Okay, good. Okay. The next thing... the next thing I'm just reading the thing. The next thing we could do is we could do a public function is open. Whoopsie, this isn't some crazy language here, is open. So we could, because we know of the state that we're at, we could do this state is an instance of open state. And what we could do here is we would return that. So if it is open, then it is open. I guess what we could do is we could also check the other states as well. So if they're in, but okay. And then what we could do on the actual account itself, and usually I do this outside of the object, and I have another mechanism to do this. Perhaps we go into some sort of command pattern. But on the account itself, we could actually do the actual mechanism of moving things around. So, for instance, we could have public function. We could try public function. We could try pending. And again, I don't normally do this in the class, but just for today, we do this state pending. Now how have I managed to do that? Well, because we've got registered state. Registered state extends account state, and therefore has knowledge of all the other potential states it has, even though they throw exceptions. So we've got pending here. So we could do move to pending or something. Public function move to open. So this is open. Public function, let's do the other one, which is, so we've got registered, I guess. That is, well, we don't need to do that because well, let's do move to, this is probably what we could do, move to invoiced. Next one here is we could do closed, so move to closed. Move to closed. I think that's all of them, isn't it? Close, invoiced, open. Okay, cool. Now, obviously these need to handle the exceptions that are thrown. So I guess what I could do is just put in some comments in here, just because they are going to throw exceptions. So if you do something like this, I would definitely put this in a try catch and handle the exceptions. Okay, fine. Okay, all right. So the account class holds the state. We start with a registered state when we instantiate it. We then have actions that we can call upon, and we can also check whether it is open or not. So we could, if we wanted to, we could have another action here. This probably makes a little bit more sense. Is closed, because that's kind of like the end state, right? So that's going to return a Boolean. And then down here we have the actions. Now, as I mentioned, I normally like to put these actions somewhere else rather than the account itself, but whatever. Let's go ahead and start running these things, right? So let's do. Let's go into the account management. Just having a look at time. Oh wow, it's 7:34. I must have blasted through this in a few. I apologize if I'm going super fast. I'm just very conscious of time because I need to. I do need to go and vote this morning, and also I'm seeing a client, so I'm like, my mind is like half on this, and then in the back of my head, I'm thinking of all the things I need to talk about today. Account management, back to index. Just reading through the comments. Let's just take some time and read through the comments. Hi, I am Lupo. Thank you very much for joining. I should buy a hat. It'd probably certainly keep my head warm, wouldn't it? Because I am losing hair. I've got more hair on my beard than I do on my head. Type definitions in PHP. What is this wizardry? So with PHP 7 and upwards, we now have lovely type hinting, type definitions. We can define our data types for. I haven't done them all here. I've just got like, you know, Boolean states here, but I'm waiting actually. I haven't checked whether PHP 7.4 is in the Mac ports yet. If it is, then this whole course will be upgraded to 7.4. In 7.4, we get the ability to have property data types. Let's just do that as registered state. This needs to really be account state interface, and get state here needs to return the interface as well. Awesome. Yeah, all the new changes in 7 Plus. Okay, let's see if we can get this running, because I've realized I've wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 classes or files, PHP files, and I haven't done any testing. I can't really call this testing either. This is more like just getting it running on a page. Let's see if we can run this. So the first thing I'm going to do is instantiate a new account. So we're going to do account is equal to a new account. So we should be able to do account get state. And what I'm going to do in the account state interface is I'm also going to have a public function get name. So in the actual states here, I want to actually return a name. So we're going to do n, then implement methods, get name. This is going to return just for this demonstration. This is going to return this or account open. If I can spell it. Pending state, again, let's do, I'm using PHP Storm here, so option N, implement methods, call get name, paste that in. This is going to return pending. Account is pending. Next one, that's open. Have I done that? Registered. So this is going to be account is registered. In my experience, a registered account doesn't always mean an open account. Because you have to, like, just because someone's signed up doesn't mean that they've verified that they've actually signed up. It just means that they've signed up. So if you're looking for email verifications, then that's what I would do. So account has been invoiced. Next one. Account is closed. Account is closed. And I guess what I should do really is say that this is returning a string in all places. Get name, and get name, and go to account states, interface. That returns a name. I'm going to quickly run PHP stan on this, I think, just to make sure that everything is hooked up properly. Thank you very much, Seer Hat E7 for following. Thank you very much, I Am Lupo, for following as well. And also, thank you very much, M Headers for following yesterday. Christoph Oris for following yesterday too. Arc IN7 and Feisty Buzz for following as well. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Yesterday I was off seeing a client. So I had my head in code, and I wasn't able to get onto the Discord channel, unfortunately. Um, there was some awesome questions being asked on the Discord channel, on the Discord server yesterday. I only managed to get, when I got home, because it was like a 2-hour drive, two and a half hour drive yesterday. I got home and I just opened up the laptop after dinner, and I just saw like 30 odd messages. Ah, good. And then I read them all, and it was just such a nice conversation amongst everybody, talking about JavaScript and sharing code and helping everybody out, which is awesome. I'm really digging it. Okay, all right. I said I was going to get PHP stand running here, but didn't I? Let's come out of this stuff. Let's come out of, where does this start? This would start at code, right? Yeah. If I did an ls, we should have our composer.json file. If I did a reverse search of PHP stan, yep, let's run that. Okay, we have fatal error here. Email observer contains one abstract method. All right, that's something else. I will deal with that, but it hasn't found. I'll deal with that after the stream, I think, because that's the another thing. But it hasn't found anything in here, although this is throwing an exception. This might be problematic. It's 7:41. I want to get this sorted. All right, I'll look at these after the stream. I'll look at those after the stream. That's obviously something I need to focus on. Let's see if we can just get this to run. So we've got account state, and here I'm going to do, we've got account, we're creating a new account. When we create a new account, if I can get into there, we go into the registered state. So registered state will have this get name, which has account is registered. Awesome. So that should say account is registered. We're going to put this in p tags, in PHP, obviously. We're going to also do this in a try and a catch. Try. Because we are throwing exceptions, we've got to be careful. So let's exception E, exception. There we go. We're going to do an echo of, put this in strong tags, of the exception get message. Okay. All right, so once the account is registered, why is that method toString is not implemented? Get state. Oh, that needs to be get state, get name. Of course, I could use a toString method on the state. Anyway, I might do that later. So, okay, we've got the account that should be registering. Then we can do accounts. And we could, if we wanted to, move to various different states if we wanted to. So in this case, we'll move to pending state, right? So account move to pending. Now let's go and get the state that we want. Okay, let's see if we can just quickly get this running. I'm going to go into the local host here. This is on index.php, which means that I need to go into the actual file. So this is in code. I need to remember where all this is. This is in src, behavioral, and this is state, of course. State, and we're going to go into account management, cd into the view, do an ls, run php -s on there. See if that runs. Does, however, let's see, this is not coming up as I would expect. So account is registered, that should say account is pending. Let's see if we can, what we're doing here. Move to pending goes to pending state. Pending state, move to pending. We're the registered state. New pending state. Account is pending. That's a little bit weird. Okay. Okay. This was going so well. What if I was to run... Oh, because, I see what we're doing here. When we're doing get state, get name, and move, are we doing... Yeah, we're not actually setting the state. Ugh, dear. We need to do this. Yes, I've gone and forgotten something. This is why you should test your code and not rush like I'm doing here. I missed something here. We need to do a public function. Well, we don't need to do a public function, but I will. Public function set state. Gosh. This is going to be the account status account state interface state. And this is going to be this state is equal to, whoopsie, state. And what we're doing here when we're moving all of these things is we're actually doing this set state is this state move or this state pending. There we go. It also means that we've got access to this outside of the class. We could just do this state is equal to, but state open, state pending, move to open, move to invoice. There's a couple of issues that my IDE is picking up, so I'm just going to have a look at those. These seem to be returning void, right? Invoice. Aha. So the pending state's fine, but this state open gotcha. It's going to throw an exception, isn't it? Right, let's see if we can get that running again. I don't know why that's come up as a blank screen. Refresh. There we go. The account is pending. So the account is registered. The account is pending. There we go. iLupo said you want to create the account in a controller, right, and push the account to the view. Yeah, but for this, I'm just doing this as sort of an example that I should have mentioned beforehand. This is going to be a course, a design patterns course. So I'm not interested in any kind of framework at all. This is just, raw object orientated PHP using well-defined design patterns that in my opinion, people who are programmers should be at least aware of. It's a course that I'm doing next year. So not really an MVC. Not really an MVC. In fact, I don't know if I've got a chance to show you, but what this will have is a whole bunch of slides. So this will become a video course. And I'll be talking about the concept of each of these design patterns, and then these are the real world examples that I'm doing on Twitch. Once this is all done, and we have a huge amount of work to do, but once this is all done, I'll then do proper edited videos on each one of these things. What I usually do is I usually delete the code or put the code somewhere else and then type it out on screen and do a narration over that. Or I comment code out and I uncomment it and talk about various aspects of the code. So we've got, like, for instance, well, if I've got time later, I'll show you, but we've got lots and lots of slides for all of the design patterns, and there's loads, right? So this is just behavioral command, iterator, mediator, memento, observer, all sorts of then we've got creational, then we've got structural. So we've got lots of design patterns to work through. Okay, so we're back in the index here. We've now moved it to the pending state. Let's see if we can invoice straight from the pending state. We shouldn't be able to. because technically it hasn't been opened yet. So let's do move to invoiced, get the name, do the refresh, cannot send invoice. So this is where we're saying this is our gate. This is now saying no. In actual fact, that's thrown an exception in the back end that we can pick up. So cannot send invoice because it's pending. However, if we were to jump this up and say in between the move to invoiced, if we have one up here and we do account move to open and we refresh, it's now open and the account has been invoiced. So this is what I meant by it's a state machine. You are creating a state machine of various different states, and you are saying that you can't do various things unless certain states have been fulfilled, right? So let's say, for example, we go and register the account. So we do new account, and we move it to. And then we try and do we try and do perhaps a close, right? We close it down so that we do move to closed. We can't close it because we haven't opened it. We've only registered it. We can't close it. So you can imagine, if you will, a for each loop or a loop of all of the possible potential states, and it's churning through each one, right? I mean, this one here is vital. You can't invoice unless it's open. So let's remove that again. There we go. So you can't send the invoice until it's open. And you do, and as just a quick recap, what we've got here is we've got an account, and the account has, when we instantiate the account, it's registered. We have the ability to get the state and the setting and set the state if we want to. And we also have the mechanisms within the account to actually move to the next states. Now, as I mentioned, I would usually do this outside of this class. I would probably do this in, maybe if this was a command pattern, perhaps connected to this. So you're making commands that run these states, or something that is separate. The account usually just has details about the account rather than the actual actions that the account can make. So perhaps this could be another class called account actions. And then you're running through you inject the account and the state, and you change the state on the account. But anyway, just for ease, I've put this all in one. So then what you do is you run this move to sort of mechanism here, and you change the states depending on what you want to move to. Now you could, what you could do is you could really sort of boil this down and just have one function called update or move or something like that, and you would pass in an argument of the particular state that you want to move to. That would certainly cut back the code, certainly. So instead of having move to closed and move to invoiced, you would just have move, and you would pass in the state of invoiced and of perhaps closed, and then it would pick that state based on what you've done here. But you may want to have different logic in here as well. You might want to do, instead of having your account states base class here, you could, if you wanted to, not have any of this, and you could put the intelligent logic in the actual move to invoiced. So where we've got here move to closed, you could check whether or not the account is open before you do that. Yeah, at this point you could put the logic in at this point. I'm only using the accounts, the base class here, because this is where you turn everything off. You say no, by default none of this is available, and then it's up to the actual states themselves to have access to the various methods that one requires. So because I don't have because I haven't implemented anything else apart from pending here, everything else is going to throw an exception. And also usually what I do, and I didn't just for speed, is I would have a better exception than just this. I would have a personalized exception, which then perhaps goes to a certain log file. And I mean, this is pretty. Unfortunately, I must admit I haven't seen a lot of this in the code that I've seen, and I think that the state pattern is actually quite an important and crucial pattern to understand, because as programmers we deal with a lot of states, a lot of things changing states, where there's a lot of logic as to what state goes to what. Because there is half an hour left, I am going to create the slides. So in here, if I go to, did I have a make file in this? I can't remember whether I created a make file for that, for this thing here. Slides. No, I didn't. That's a shame. It's npx. That's npx. There we go. That's the slides. So it's output. So it's going through slides. That's right. And it's going into the dist. All right. So this MARP tool that I'm using will build all the slides and then put them in the dist folder here. And this is what I'm going to be using to talk through the conceptual parts, the theory, I guess, of these behavioral patterns. And then what I do is I'll hand off to the actual real world examples. So there's going to be a lot of content for this. So this is now going into watch mode, which means that I should be able to right-click the index file, I think, here, and then load that up, and we'll put that into Safari. There we go. So this is the talk. Well, this is the slides that I'm going to give. First of all, I'll be talking about what is the difference between behavioral, creational, and structural, and then because what MARP does is it converts markdown files. Well, one of the things MARP can do is it converts markdown files into HTML. I can offer this with the course as a website, as a static website. So, okay. So the next thing, so we go to the behavioral. So I'll just talk about what behavioral is, and then we've got a list here of all the all of the what am I looking for? Design patterns of the behavioral. And then you click on one of these things and we'll talk about the command pattern in detail. And then we go through the concept of what the command pattern does. So here we have the receiver, the interface, and then we have the various commands. And then once this is done, and then this is like how you would run it. So I'll talk through each one of these. And I'm thinking I would be a talking head sort of here on the right hand side, so I'll pop up and talk, and I'll have a green screen behind me, but potentially I haven't quite worked out the format of that yet, but potentially I've got a green screen, so I might be a green screened onto that, and then after that we go to the real world example. Now because this is a website, one could click on the real world example if they want to, and they would get to the particular example that runs the code. So what I'm going to do quickly, I say quickly because well, I do have half an hour, it's okay. So the behavioral thing here, we're going to work on the state. So at the moment, can you see there's nothing here? So I need to put in the concept. So that's what we're going to do. And because we're in watch mode, it means that it's going to watch the files as I work. So let's get rid of that because that's not required. Let's go into behavioral. This is where the slides live. Go into the state thing here. And because it's markdown, it uses this sort of format. So we can, tailor the heading tags if we want to. Let's just remove that for a minute. And let's see, the one I did before was the memento, wasn't it? So let's scroll up to, I want to grab the concept. And we go into state here. So that's the concept slide. So can you see that's fired off? It's gone and updated the state.html of that. So we should be able to go to the concept. Awesome. So that's the concept slide. And then the next slide is actually getting into the concept. So let's take a look at what we did here in the code, which was this, and actually see if we can boil this down as a concept. So obviously, as a concept, there's not going to be all of these particular states. I guess what we could do is on the state itself, we could start with the state, couldn't we? So we could do PHP. Let's just grab one of these things and knock it into here. So we're just going to call this state. We don't need to worry about any of this because this is just markdown code, and this is only a concept. So we have extends, account states. We don't need to worry about any of that at the minute. We have we can call this something that is a little bit more generic. So proceed. Is that right? You proceed to next. And this will return the next state. So let's call this state A. And let's call this new state B. So this is state A. So the idea with these concepts is like, I'll show you a generic concept of how this works, and then I'll show you a real world example of how this could work. And I think that people benefit from that because some people get the concepts really quickly, and then some people prefer it to be shown in a sort of a real world situation. Let's see if we can do these together. So state A, state B. State B, and then this is we're just going to put move to next state. All right, let's just have a look and see what we're doing with the code. That doesn't look terrible. It looks okay. I mean, it could be better. Sometimes when you write too much code, it overhangs. I guess what we could do... No, that's not going to change the weight of the code, is it? All right, fine. Okay, so that's the states. The next slide will be... will be the actual account, I guess. Whoops. And again, this is in PHP. So we're just going to call this client. Again, very generic. Keep it nice and unreal worldy for the concept. I guess we could have a interface potentially of that with get name and proceed to next, maybe. I guess so. Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not? Okay, let's grab that. Thank you very much, GLN2, for following. Appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. We're going to create a little interface here just to make sure everything... so we're going to call this state. Whoopsie, it's an interface. Come on. It is 8:04. Fine. I'm just keeping my eye on the time here. Interface, state, interface. We're going to have get name and proceed to next, which is going to be mixed. Come on. Ah. Why are you... No. Whoa. Magic Mouse is going crazy. All right. So we've got the state interface, and then here we can do implements state interface. Have I screwed up the formatting here? So the first one is the interface that we talk about, and then we go to the that is okay. Okay, good. All right, so then we have the client here. We have the state interface and we can do state equals new state. Is it A? State A, I called it. State A. Yeah, state A and state B. Get state returns the state interface. State interface. Sorry. Sorry, I do apologize. I'm my if you can see the fingers on the keyboard, they're starting to steam. So, okay, we got get state interface, state A. Then we've got the proceed to, haven't we? So we've got the proceed to, and the proceed to I've gone and put for some reason in the actual states themselves. No, that's fine. That's fine. So here we could do. We don't need any of this stuff. That's just we've got move to state, and we can pass in the name of the state. No, let's not overcomplicate it. Move to state B is set state, this state, proceed to next. Remove all those. State B, move to state B. Yeah. Okay, I think that kind of, it kind of covers it, I guess. Let's have a look. So your client has the state, and you don't have to do this, but it's always good to start with a state, right? So having no state is a state itself. So you instantiate a new state, which is state A, and then you can get the state, and then unfortunately, yeah, here we go, set state. So move to state B, proceed to next. Okay, cool. So let's see if we can actually get this to run through here. So what we would do is we would come up with some a new line here, and then we would do. Come on, Pete. Come on. We would do account. And it's not account. It is client. Is equal to new client. I've called it client because I'm going to see one today. Client, and then we would do client equals blah, 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 blah. Then we would do the states. So that would instantiate that. We would do echo of client get state get name. Come on, get name. No capitals. Then under this, what we would change the state. We would move to state B. There we go. So we would do echo. No, we wouldn't. We would do client. Move to state B, and then under that, we would get that as well. We'll get the name. Right. Let's see. Has that worked? I would like to have some space between the two. Thank you. Client equals new client. Echo the get the current state, then move to state B. Awesome. I think what I'm going to do, just to show the fact that this is there is some sort of intelligence as to what state can and cannot go to. I think what we would do is we would throw maybe an exception here. So maybe we would do, or am I blowing this out of proportion? No, I think that's fine for the minute. I think that's fine. Yeah. 8:10. Right, back to the chat. I'm so sorry for ignoring. I'm in the UK. We've got a general election today, so I need to rush off and vote. And the fact that I'm wearing a shirt is that I'm going to see a client about PHP, in fact, and JavaScript. So that's what I'm doing today. And because it's a voting day, there is opportunity in the morning to obviously go and vote. So if I got up a little bit earlier, I could stream. So that's my excuse. Hello, GL End 2. Thank you very much. Yeah, apologies for being really rushed today. So today we did the state pattern. I'll just demonstrate that again. And so this is what we created here. It was an account management state pattern. The idea is that you have an account, and the account has the default state of a registered state. Now, the idea with the state pattern is it can control, or it can change the behavior of your objects at runtime based on the states that you supply. If you think of a state machine, if you think of a big machine with a lot of cogs and stuff, and you drop, there should be a name for this. I can't remember don't know what the name is. You know, the machines where you drop a penny. It's like a game. You drop a penny or some sort of coin in, and depending on where the cogs are, changes the direction in which the coin falls down. It's a bit like that. And the idea here is that we have the registered state, we have the pending state, the open state, invoice state, and closed state. Now, there are certain states here that can only happen after certain other states have been fulfilled. So, for instance, you can't close a state unless it's been opened. You can't invoice your account unless it's been opened, which means that when an account is registered, it goes into a pending state, and then after the pending state, it goes open, which means that you can't close a pending state account, and you can't close a registered state account. Likewise, you can't invoice an account that is registered or pending. It has to be open. This becomes the sort of the gateway, I guess, the sort of like the security barriers, if you will, which means that nothing daft can happen on the system. So you wouldn't be sending out an invoice to an account that hasn't been fully opened yet, and you certainly wouldn't be closing accounts that haven't been through the pending state. Maybe there needs to be a level of verification before. So when a user registered, this might sound a little bit strange, but in my experience, when an account is registered, an account isn't open. An account is registered, it needs to be verified through some sort of email link or something. Maybe it's two-factor authentication. Maybe it's a telephone call, what have you. So first of all, an account gets registered, and it goes into, once that happens, it then becomes in a pending state. Once the pending state is over, it becomes open, which means that once it's open, you can then invoice that account. I'm just here talking from some crazy experience. So we have a base class called account states. Now the account states define or have all of the states that are possible, and we've turned them all off. And we've turned them all off by throwing exceptions. So cannot register, cannot put account into pending, cannot open the account, cannot send invoice, cannot close, right? There's also an account state interface, which also has all of the potential states that you can have, as well as the get name, which means that the account states themselves can both extend the account states base class and implement the account state interface. This means that all of the states need to have the get name at least, but because we're extending the account states, it means that we can override the various future states if we want to, and actually return them as themselves. This overrides the base class, which means that the pending state here doesn't throw an exception. In fact, what it does is it allows you to go to the pending state, right? And this happens throughout. So for instance, the pending state allows you to go to the open state, right? If you run any other state against the pending state, it's going to throw you in an exception because it's extending the account states. Open state allows you to invoice and it allows you to close. Okay, so now we're forking. Now we're going off into, and believe you me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's many states that a system will have. This I was just using this as a sort of a demonstration piece. So okay, so now we can close and now we can invoice. So when we go to the invoice state, we can close it. But if we try and open it again, it's going to throw an exception because it's already open, right? And it's going to throw that exception because it extends the account states. Okay, then I won't go through all of them, but in the account itself, we have the ability to get the state, which allows us to then get the name of the state because we've got the state. There's some mechanisms in here that I haven't actually used yet, but in case of just checking whether an account is open or whether the account is closed. Then there is the ability here to move to various different things. So this would be our proceed to next mechanism. So move to pending. This will then run the pending state. Open will open it and invoice will invoice it. When we open up the account, we set the state to this is registered. So it's then up to the I guess you would call it the controller to define. Let's go back to that, wherever that's gone. It would be up to this, I suppose, to define which state one wants to get to. So in this case, we have the account, it's been registered. We go to pending, and then we make a mistake and we try and invoice a pending account. Well, the account hasn't been opened, so that throws the exception, cannot send invoice. This exception here, this exception message is coming from this, cannot send invoice. Because in the view, what we've done is we've said, we've instantiated a new account, we're getting the registered, then we're moving it to pending, and then we're going to try and straight away go to move to invoice. Now, the way to fix this is obviously to open the account. So we do move to open. So save that, go back into here, refresh, and there we go. The account is opened, which means that we can now invoice that account. And you're changing the states here. So something that really works well with this is if anybody has seen crazy switch patterns where the switch pattern is, you've got tons and tons of cases, switch cases that you're going through. And within those cases, you have a whole spaghetti code of if statements, so if-else statements within the case. So you can move all of that intelligence out of all of that and actually define it upon the states. So the states themselves are aware of what states they can proceed to. In the sense here, it's extending the account states, and we've turned them all off by default, and then we're opening up the various abilities of the other states within themselves. That is the state pattern. Right. Whew. I'm glad that all worked. Let's just say that. Yeah, now I can breathe. Now I can breathe. Okay, so today I'm going off to see a client. So I'm going to be in and out of I'm going to be sort of like hovering around the Discord server, although I'm probably not going to be, because I'm going to be doing a lot of meetings and stuff. So I'm probably not going to be around until probably tomorrow. However, I'm going to be obviously, on the lunch breaks and stuff, I'll come on and see, and I get notifications on my phone. But if you haven't joined the Discord server, please consider doing so. Also, we have coding challenges every month. This month is a very interesting one. It's JavaScript stroke CSS. If you ever thought CSS was just easy peasy, then take a look at this challenge. I'll show you what this challenge is because we put it live the other day, and let's see if I can get that thing up here. Let's just bring that down a mo. Coding challenges.howtocodewell.net. There we go. Okay. So the December challenge. This is coding challenge. I'll put this in the old chat thing here. Okay. So the December challenge. We've got 2 levels. The first one is to create a Happy New Year card. So create a HTML page that says Happy New Year from your username. Choose whatever you want. Whether it's your Twitch username or your Discord username or your GitHub username, whatever. Make it nice and pretty. Bonus points if you make it pretty. And use a funky Christmassy font if you want. Level 2, make it sparkle. Add an image border. So this is a border that is an image around it. So this is actually like an e-card, essentially. Add fireworks. Now, the fireworks, I guess one would normally go straight to JavaScript because you're actually causing events on the page, right? But bonus points if you don't use JavaScript and if you use CSS. Yes, you can create fireworks in CSS. And then, so what I'm asking people to do is to use the Discord channel in the Discord server, which is the coding challenges, to submit your challenge. So you can click on this button here, submit the challenge. The last challenge we did was November. So if I click onto here, this was, and you're more than welcome to do previous challenges. That's that's cool. This one was a Christmas countdown, and what I did is I did a video which I demonstrated the community's challenges, and I put it on YouTube, and I'm going to be doing the same for the next challenge. Well, for all the challenges coming up. So the challenge is the December challenge. This is going to be finished. This is coming up at the end of December. So get your submissions in, and I will review them. It's a friendly review, right? It's not a sort of a bullied review. It's a friendly review. It also gives you the ability to have your. I'm going to put in here, no, up here, I think, on the right-hand side, links to the people that I've reviewed, right? So I've actually put on the stream. So if you want to build up your portfolio and also have your portfolio in video form, then that's, it's a good way of doing that. So if you're a junior dev, or you're just starting out, then this is a friendly environment to learn to code. And we've got the coding help channel on the Discord server. So if you want to talk and discuss the challenge and talk about the how to do various bits and pieces, then please do. This is a group thing, right? This isn't like, there's no sort of like one is better than the other. I know I've said here bonus points, but there's no like scoring mechanism. It's a case of looking at the code, looking at the output, discussing how things were done, potentially having some sort of constructive criticism, but it isn't like the case of pointing fingers and I try and keep it nice and light. So that's the coding challenges. We've got 5 minutes, so I'm going to talk now a little bit about. There was 2 things, wasn't there? There was one that was the Electron application, and the other one was the talk that I would like to do. So next year, let's do the talk first, because the Electron I might have to wait. So the talk that I want to give next year, and I haven't submitted this at all, I'm still thinking about this, is Composer. I would like to do a talk on Composer, sort of how to get Composer up and running, how to build a project in Composer. This talk I would like to target junior developers who perhaps haven't used Composer before. There's also an awful lot of composer commands. So this is the PHP package management system. There's a lot of composer commands that are really, really awesome, and I would like to show them off. So I don't know yet whether this is going to be more of a workshop or whether this is going to be, say, in the slide format like we've had before, where I'm actually, it could potentially be like this, where I'm sort of showing code on static code on a screen. I guess with Composer you've got to deal with Wi-Fi issues, because you're pulling in packages off the internet. So yeah, so what I would like to do, probably starting off next year, is actually come up with a talk, much like I've come up with the previous talks that I've given at various user groups, and then use Twitch as a means of practicing those things. So over the holiday period, because I'm not going to be streaming around the sort of Christmas time, I'm actually going to be coming up with the talk, sort of making it a little bit, putting some skin on the bone, shall we say, of the talk, and then hopefully at the start of New Year I should have something to demonstrate. But that's that. I don't think I'm going to have a chance to talk about the Electron, because that's quite big. Again, that's going to happen in the new year. Okay, I'll talk about it because there's a few minutes. So with Electron, if you don't know, Electron is fantastic. It's like a way of creating desktop applications. I've been given a lot of files, and I would like to create a way of traversing the file system and having a mechanism of listing the files, searching through files using Electron. It's a personal project of mine that I've got in the back of my mind, and that I'm hoping will be done some point next year, hopefully. And if you don't mind, once we get the version 2 or version 1 of this completed, I might be using the Twitch streams to actually demonstrate Electron. Now, I've never used Electron, so this is going to be complete learning, like complete newbie learning. So if you're learning JavaScript or Electron, then that might be useful, perhaps, potentially, if I can demonstrate that. I want to try and use these Twitch streams as a means for me to also learn development, so you're actually seeing how I learn to code as well. So, awesome. Right, I'm going to make a dash because I need to go to the polling station. It is the UK general election today, and I need to cast my vote. Then I'm off to see a client. So I will be back on Twitter and Discord later on. But anyway, happy coding, everyone. Thank you ever so much for following, everybody who followed. I'll just go through all the names before I go. GLN2, Sarah Hat E7, I am Lupo, M Headers, Christoph Euros, Arc INI7N, Feisty Buzz. Thank you ever so much for following and joining, and have a great day. I'll see you again soon. Happy coding, everyone. Cheers. Bye.